I actually can't believe how good that sounds. Right, I'm going to shut it off before something blows up. But
proudly supported by Superior Engineering, iTech World, and in part by...
Now, naturally aspirated, the TD42 is an absolute weapon. It'll chop basically anything on the road. It's a high performance engine. It's an absolute piece of crap on the road, to be honest. Definitely gonna want a turbo on a TD42. They're a slug without them. Now, not only are we turbo in it, but we're doing a twin turbo. No, I'm joking, we're not doing a twin turbo, but we have two of Flex's turbos here. Now, they are both different sizes, and Desta Automotive have sent these out to try and make them work on the TD42. And this is actually going to be a world's first, because I don't think anyone has tried to put an F66 turbo on a TD42. So F66, this biggest one here is a 52.5 millimeter wheel, 6-blade front, 12-blade rear, designed for a 4JJ1 or 1KD. The only thing that is a little bit of a concern is the size of the rear housing and flowing all the exhaust gas out so we don't have too much back pressure in the system, but that's where this 40mm wastegate is going to come into play. So if we do have too much back pressure, we can gate it through this wastegate, get rid of the exhaust and dump it back into the dump pipe. Now, these are supplied through Desta Automotive, and you guys know that they are one of our channel sponsors. So if you do want to check them out, they've got a bunch of different turbos for a bunch of different cars. They've got injectors, high performance parts, bling kits, all that sort of stuff. I'll have a link in the description below to their website, and big thank you to Manny for sorting all this out for me. So hopefully I can make this big boy work. It definitely looks the part. I think it's going to look really cool on there. We should be able to make it spool really fast with that small rear housing, and then control it all with this wastegate here. And yeah, we'll be making turbo noises, and we'll be going a little bit faster, and we'll be looking a little bit cooler. Now, in terms of mounting this unit, it is going to go somewhere like that. Doesn't it look absolutely nuts in there? Maybe even tilt it back a little bit. That would be cool. But anyway, we've got a lot of fabrication ahead of us to get this to work. I really think it is going to work though. It's going to be sick. It's going to make such cool noises. I'm really excited. Now, I got these plates plasma cut the other day over at Ruben's from Reubs Modifications. I'll leave a link in the description below. He does very similar content. He has saved me an absolute ton of work cutting these for me, so huge shout out to him. But this one here is for the turbo, and then this one here is our T3 flange that goes onto the manifold. The first thing I'm going to do is get these drilled and tapped and sort of ready to be mounted in. The T3 manifold that we already have has threads in it, so we just need to drill holes in that one, and that will go like that. And then this plate here, I might even drill and tap, and then that is going to sit somewhere like that. And then hopefully have the wastegate coming off the back there, so we can run the screamer pipe down into that abyss there. All right, that's the holes. Now we've got to get them tapped. Now, I've been using these all-in-one drill bits and taps. These are actually off Temu, work pretty well. I don't know how they'll go with this 10mm plate. But what I do is put it in the impact gun so it's not putting too much load on it. Just go in and out with a bit of lube. Sounded a bit rude. Seems to work pretty well so far, but we'll try it on some 10mm plate. So good. Straight through. No. Right, that is 4 tap threads. It's as easy as that. Just going to make sure this fits up to the turbo, and then you can start building the T3 flange. Right, so that fits up perfectly now. So the exhaust gas will just flow straight through that. And yeah, now we've got to make the T3 flange. Right, I've ended up using CAD, cardboard aided design, and got the flange sorted. So now I'll transfer this onto the steel and get it drilled out. That's the T-flange done. You can see it's all bolted in, fits up nice on the hole there. So now we can start building our pipework off that. I already know that I want the turbo like that, but I've got to make sure that I can get to the bolts to do up the flange as well. So we might have to sit it up a little bit higher, somewhere like there. Right, that is the collector tacked up. So I'm gonna go ahead and fully weld this up before I put the top on, just so I can get into these little sections, but so far so good. Right, this piece is all done. I've also got the top flange for the turbo to mount to done. It welded up quite nicely actually. There's nowhere that I can see that is going to be a problem. Also went ahead and polished the inside of it just with a sander, just to help with a bit of flow, but we also have to put the wastegate in here somewhere as well. But the next step is to get this onto the car and mock a turbo up, and then figure out where exactly the wastegate's going to go. Hoping it doesn't look a little bit funny hanging off to the side, but I tried to make this plate as close as possible to the manifold there, so hopefully it looks all right. Time for the turbo. Right, nothing's actually going to be tight, but give me a rough idea. That is it all just sitting there. Now it's kind of loose as well, but you can see our intercooler pipe is going to be fine. We've got plenty of clearance off the side here. The next biggest thing though is thinking about our wastegate. So I'm thinking just a little bit of pipe like this, weld it on the back, and then we put our V-band on the top and have that kind of sitting somewhere like that. And then we can build the exhaust or the screamer pipe off down into the dump pipe. Whether we plumb that in or not, we'll figure that out. It's not very often you see a wastegate above a turbo, but it could look cool when it's all done. Stuff around, find out. I'll try and explain my train of thought here. This is a 4J rear housing. It's designed to go on a 4-cylinder motor. We've got a 6-cylinder, so there's going to be a lot more exhaust gas. Now, if you look in here, this is only about a 40mm inlet, and then the wastegate on these is a 20mm wastegate. So when the turbo spools up and hits 14 PSI, this gate will open. It'll vent that extra exhaust gas out. That'll prevent too much back pressure flowing through this turbo, and then hopefully keep everything nice and healthy. It's actually been a couple of hours. I really did not like how that was turning out, so I've changed the design a bit. I've got this 90-degree kind of bend that is going to get welded like that, so then the wastegate's going to kind of sit off to the side. I always come in the shed with pretty much no plan, so changing stuff up as we go. Going to get this welded on here and then see how it looks. Right, I've just finished that up and holy crap, does it not look amazing. So I got the wastegate fitted up. Now this can obviously be clocked whichever way we need it to go, but the screamer pipe will be running down here as well as a big dump pipe down to the exhaust. I believe that there is plenty of room, and then we've got nice space off the tappet cover. I'm really hoping that it's not going to melt the paint on this, otherwise I'll have to build a heat shield. I'm also thinking about just quickly making a brace before we get this sanded down and painted. Hardest part about doing this stuff is literally just thinking about where stuff is going to go. So that's a huge tick. Wastegate and turbo pretty much mounted up. It's literally taken the better part of 2 days just to get everything in the right spot, and a lot of dicking around. You can see even over here how much metal I've cut up in between these clips and repositioned things, and then scrapped it all and started again. So I'm going to take all this off and then make a little brace for that pipe. It probably doesn't need it because the pipe's quite thick walled, but I think it'll look cool, and it'll also just help with vibrations and cracks and all that. Oh, nailed it. Something like that. We'll cut that out of steel, put some holes in it, make it look cool, and get that onto the back of there. Right, that's the brace done. Doesn't look half bad, and it's going to make it so much stronger. You see I got the MIG nice and flat there. The trick is with that, you go super hot and just do little tack welds. So I've just been sanding these flanges for about half an hour. Then I checked them with the straight edge and they are nowhere near flat. I don't think I'm going to be able to get these flat in this shed, but I can at least get this painted, get it all mocked up. Instead of masking, I'm going to be using some grease on these flanges just so paint doesn't stick to them. We've got the trusty old black. All right, bit of a side mission. I'm on the way to Reubs. I've got the flange right here, or the adapter. I'm gonna go and use this belt sander. Old Reuben getting me out of shit again. Good opportunity to take the GU for a run as well. You guys don't see much of this car anymore, but she's still going strong. The flatter is so good. Right, just pulled up to Reubs. Let's go see what he can do for us.
Got a lot of shit around here, so we can like pull it out if it looks neater. Swing that open.
Yeah, it's
and
flat.
Just throw that form.
Right, I'm going to sand this flange on this big belt sander that Reuben's got. You can see where it's not flat there. So hopefully 10 minutes on this thing will sort it out. Let that cool and then I'll do that side. Way better. Come up really good. I still got to do this side, but it's, oh, that's hot. That's really hot. Right, managed to get this one flat, but not all the way. You can see just that corner has kind of tapered off, but I did put a fair bit of heat into this, so be buggered without Reuben, so cheers Reuben for helping out. Back to the shed. See you, mate. Right, back in the shed, and Reuben got me flanged nice and flat. So we're going to be putting all this on today, and I've got everything laid out on the bench that we're gonna need to finish the turbo up on this thing. I went to the shops and bought some studs that I sort of got to modify to make work. I got the fitting to run the oil lines. I got the sump drain plug, so I can weld that onto the sump, run a line into the sump so we can get our turbo to drain into there. First thing I'm going to do is modify these studs. The shank's a little bit too long, so I'm just going to tap the thread down just a little bit further, make that thread a little bit longer, get these fitted up, and then we can bolt our adapter on. Right, that's tight and looks absolutely mint. Time for the wastegate. Wastegate and flange are on, and holy crap, that looks absolutely insane. So now I'm going to mount the rear housing up so that we can start clocking the turbo and get it all fitted up. Now we're on to clocking the turbo to make sure that it's all rotated right. Turbo has an oil feed and an oil drain. The oil feed has to go to the top so that the oil drains down through the turbo and out into the sump. So I'm gonna have to loosen all these off and start rotating the core until we're happy, and then we V-band that exhaust wheel into that. Might have to pull these out because sometimes they run a sealant on them. Even got some writing in here. It's such a nice turbo. So this needs to go at the top, drain needs to go at the bottom, get this mounted up, then we can fit the front snout and clock that. I've just also fitted that turbo drain just so I don't have to fit that later on. Right, the front housing. look at the size of that front housing. It just looks insane on a TD42. Now I've gone ahead and clocked it straight down so that the intercooler pipe can get connected with a 90 in there, and then that's obviously going to come through into where the intercooler mounts. The next thing I'm going to do is run the oil pressure line. So we've got a banjo high pressure line, and there's a bung right above that engine mount there. We're taking the oil pressure from there straight up into here, and then once we get round to welding the sump, we can run the turbo drain straight down and into there. A little bit of thread tape on the fitting. I'm just going to stick that into the block and get our oil pressure feed done. All right, that is the turbo hose ran. Now I am leaving it loose just so we can double check that there's oil pressure up there, but that line goes through the manifold there. It's not actually touching the manifold there, but goes down into our fitting. So that is oil feed done. So the last thing is to put the drain into this pan here. So to do that, I am using an AN weld-on style -10 fitting. I'm going to put that right about there somewhere, and then we'll have a hose connection coming off that with AN line that runs up to the bottom of the turbo. Now you got to make sure you can get the welder right round, so you can't go too high, and then you want to be between the two bolts here so you don't have trouble getting up there. So right about there is going to be perfect. I'm going to use a large bolt like that and put that on the inside of the sump just to center the hole. And then I'm also going to leave this fitting on here just so I don't get weld splatter on the threads. I do have multiple ones of these as well. It's not my only one, so if I stuff it, doesn't matter. Right, that's the fitting done. I went around it twice, so shouldn't leak at all. Now I'm going to quickly scrape off this gasket so we can get ready for the new one. Sump is now ready. I've just gone and cleaned it out, and we've got our fitting welded on. I just gave it a little bit of paint to protect it. So I'm going to get under and try and whack this up. It's going to be difficult by myself, but I'm going to have to make it work. Right, got the sump installed. I didn't film it because it was just lifting up a sump. There's literally like 30 bolts, so a little bit boring. Now I've got to make the drain. So I'm using some AN line and an AN fitting. Push that onto there, tighten it up, cut it to length, fit it up, and then we can try and start this thing. Turbo drain is done. You can see that hose goes down nice and neat into the sump. The only thing left to do is to put oil in it. We've got to make sure we do that, and then we can start it up. For oil, I'm just going with a very cheap Gulf Western sort of run-in oil. I will be dropping this out within the next, I don't know, maybe 500 kilometers. Now this is just a 1540, which is actually a little bit thinner than what I normally use, but I want to run some engine cleaner through this as well and then drop this oil out. So we'll only be using this for a little bit. I'm pretty sure that everything is ready to run. I'm just going to quickly go through it all. Got the solenoid disconnected, oil line in a bucket. I'm going to start cranking it over and see if we get pressure. Right, we've got oil pressure, so that's a really good thing, but my battery is dying, and obviously the alternator right now has no belt on it. So hopefully it starts after this, but let's hook this back up and see if she runs. Hopefully we can hear the turbo spool up just a little bit. Woo! It's a lot quieter. Woo-hoo-hoo! Oh, it sounds really good. Check this out. I just got to let the oil go through the turbo for a little bit, and then we might stab the throttle and see if we can make it whistle. Oh, it's been a huge job. That is so good. crap. That sounds absolutely insane. Holy crap. I actually can't believe how good that sounds. All right, I'm gonna shut it off before something blows up, but Jesus. What do you reckon, mate? Was that insane? Smile from ear to ear. Holy crap. Right, we have got to get this thing on the road ASAP. No more stuffing around. Once that wastegate is set up and we hear that whistle and then it dumps, holy crap. Now that's why I wanted to try this setup, because that did not have any trouble spooling up. 4JJ1 with the smaller rear housing, it's going to really light the turbo up super quick. And we haven't even done any tuning or anything. I'm going to crank all the fuel into it. We're going to run around about 20 PSI boost off this thing. It's got me very, very, very excited. I'm not going to lie. That is like, this is the most excited I've been about this build, period. Huge shout out to Manny from Desta Automotive for sorting out the turbo. Thank you so much to Ruben and his dad for helping me out with the cutting of the flanges and getting them flat. Now I am going to leave it here. Links are in the description below to the website, Desta Automotive, and I'll also link Ruben's YouTube channel below. So definitely subscribe to him. Let me know in the comments what you think about the Turbski setup. It has been a huge job to get that in. It's very custom, but it's one of a kind. World's first TD42 4J Turbo external wastegate. So guys, I'll see you in the next episode. Thanks so much for watching. Ron Burgundy has a freaking turbo.